Charlie Munger just doubled down on Alibaba in the third quarter of 2021. This despite the growing concerns of serious potential economic headwinds in China. That's exactly what we're going to dive into in this video. You're watching More Money. Let's get it. In the third quarter of 2021, Charlie Munger absolutely bought the dip and really doubled his position in Alibaba by adding approximately 140,000 shares. That's on top of his previously purchased 165,000 shares in the first quarter of 2021. His timing could have been better as the shares really dipped in Q3. And as you can see from here, Charlie being as active as he has been in 2021 is highly unusual, as buying Alibaba is his first market activity since reducing his POSCO position in 2014. Now we gotta note that because Charlie continues to be active with purchasing more and more shares of Alibaba through the Daily Journal Corporation, it becomes increasingly more and more unlikely that Berkshire Hathaway will purchase the shares in the company. This is more so because, in my opinion, Charlie would not want to front-run Berkshire Hathaway shareholders or even make it seem like that's happening. Now, what's interesting is that in Q3, lots of headwinds occurred in China, which continue to surface, which included headwinds from new regulations, further COVID spikes and their related measures to control the spread, the Evergrande real estate crisis, and a power crisis gripping the country right now. So the question is, why would Charlie Munger, faced with these issues, choose to continue to purchase more shares in Alibaba? Because YOLO, that's why. My man's got diamond hands, baby. No, just kidding. Honestly, I think it's because he's looking at the issues independently in the same way that we have been on this channel. When it comes to the new regulations, they don't sound like regulations aimed at destroying the technology industry, rather promoting healthy competition. With the COVID spikes, they do need lockdowns in areas for the short term in areas that have experienced a spike. Vaccines will continue to get better, and therapeutics aimed at dealing with COVID positive patients are already seeing huge progress. So this COVID issue, I don't think it's long term. Look, guys, I believe that COVID is endemic. It will be in the population forever. So really what we need is better therapeutics, which are on the way. With the power crisis, the Chinese government has already stated that they are going all hands on deck with firing up their coal-fired plants at or near full capacity and supplying them with necessary coal from both increased domestic production and additional imports. So I'm not too concerned about the power crisis leaking into 2022. Finally, with the Evergrande situation, I don't think the risk is really with Evergrande themselves, but a more pervasive issue with the overall Chinese real estate market could occur. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. An Evergrande default and a collapse could be a Lehman Brothers moment, and we will have to wait and see how this shakes out and if it has pervasive impacts. There are structural problems with the Chinese real estate market. I will be going through those structural issues in a 3-part series on the Chinese real estate market on this channel. Stay tuned, those videos are going to come out very soon. There are monetary policy tools to deal with a potential real estate crisis, but there could be absolutely devastating impacts. Despite that, Charlie has displayed that he remains bullish on the opportunity with his near-term double down in the shares. But don't take it from me, here's Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett discussing China at the Berkshire Hathaway shareholders meeting.
This question's for Charlie. It comes from Stephen Tedder in Atlanta. He's been a Berkshire shareholder for 10 years and says, you and your friend Li Lu have been very optimistic with respect to investing opportunities in China. BYD has performed spectacularly for Berkshire since its initial purchase in 2008 and is currently valued at $5.8 billion. The Daily Journal recently bought a large position in Alibaba after founder Jack Ma had been reprimanded by the Chinese Communist Party and Ma's other company, Ant, was not allowed to proceed with its IPO. What are your current thoughts on China and whether the communist leaders will allow businesses with strong leadership to flourish in decades to come?
Well, I think that the Chinese government will allow businesses to flourish. It was one of the most remarkable things that ever happened in the history of the world when a bunch of committed communists just looked at the prosperity of places like Singapore and said, the hell with this, we're not going to stay here in poverty, we're going to copy what works. And they changed communism. They just accepted Adam Smith and added it to their communism and said, now we have communism with Chinese characteristics, which is China with a free market with a bunch of billionaires and so forth. And they made that shift. They deserve a lot of credit. Warren and I are not quite as good at that as changing our minds in many cases.
Yeah.
And that was a remarkable change coming from such a place. And of course, it's worked like gangbusters. It had this enormous growth in the average income of the average Chinese. They've lifted 800 million people out of poverty fast. And There was never anything like it in the history of the world. So my hat is off to the Chinese. And I think they will continue to allow people to make money. They've learned it works. The Chinese, I loved what the guy said in the first place. I don't care whether the cat is black and white as long as it catches mice. That's my kind of talk.
In that list of the 20 most valuable companies, just 3 are Chinese. Now, if you're looking out 30 years, how many do you think will be Chinese? My guess is more, but I don't think they'll top the United States. But who knows? It's amazing what has been accomplished, and
really amazing.
And they found what works. I mean, there's nothing like finding something that works in order to sort of reinforce ideas over time, and we'll see what happens. But I would bet there will be more than 3, but I will bet the United States has more than China has too.
Now, it looks like it's not just Charlie Munger that's a bull on Alibaba. It looks like many super investors are ignoring the near-term headwinds and buying into the name. You can see here that Alibaba was the #1 most purchased stock over the past 2 quarters by super investors. Now, major economists are warning that expansion in China is expected to fall significantly, which is spooking investors out of the Chinese names. I did a full analysis on those issues, which you can get to right here. And of course, don't forget to smash that like button. If you're new, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'll see you later.